Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for this online event. My name is Catherine and I'm a health psychologist and researcher at King's College London in the health psychology section, and following on from Ben's talk, I'm going to be talking about exercise and briefly looking at some techniques that we can use to fit exercise into our daily routine. So we know that exercise is good for us, and there's a lot of research evidence to suggest there are multiple benefits to exercise, for example boosting mood, reducing tiredness, helping the body fight disease and also boosting quality of life. And there are a lot of guidelines around about how much exercise and what kind of exercise we should be doing, for example, as you can see with the Public Health England guidelines here. But particularly at these uncertain times, these guidelines can be quite overwhelming, and it can be quite difficult to think about how we can actually adapt them and also apply them to ourselves in the current situation that we're in. And that's actually why I think taking a step back and thinking about ourselves as individuals and also the kind of situation that we're in can be a really good way to think about making a plan and how we can fit exercise into our lives. So a good way of getting an understanding of ourselves is to think about what, where, when and why. So for example, with what is it that you want to do? Is it that you enjoy doing weight-based exercises, or maybe you prefer doing cardio-based exercise? And actually it's also worth thinking about what our starting point is. So maybe if you've done exercise before, maybe you want to build on that, and actually maybe it might be that you haven't done much exercise and would like to try something new. Then to think about where. So what space have you got available to you? And it may be that you can go outside once a day like the government has said, but equally you may be self-isolating and need to have something that you can do indoors while you're self-isolating. Then to think about when. So research has shown that kind of scheduling an activity can really help us get started and build it into our daily lives. But it's also worth thinking about when works best for you. So when do you feel at your best? So for example, it might be in the morning to kind of get energised, maybe before starting work. It may be at lunchtime to have a break in the day, or maybe in the evening to kind of relax and wind down after the day. That very much depends on your preference. And then to think about why. And this is a really important thing to consider, because ultimately thinking about why we're doing exercise actually makes it relevant to us. So it might be that we want to increase our overall fitness, maybe want to boost our mood, feel better, or kind of get stronger, for example. So here are just a few ideas of exercises that we can do inside. So for example, you've got multiple different exercise videos that are online. For example, PE with Joe Wicks is a particular popular one at the moment. Vigorous housework counts, dancing, and also body weight exercises. But importantly, I think, is that consistency and slowly increasing exercise is key, particularly if we haven't done much exercise before or if we're recovering from a period of illness. And actually it really much depends on your starting point. So as I said before, have you done exercise before, or actually is this kind of new to you and actually kind of want to get started slowly but surely? And also it's worth remembering that at the moment particularly, any movement is good movement. And this idea of progression and slowly increasing over time is kind of known as graded exercise, and actually has been shown to have multiple benefits and really essentially allows the body to adapt and gain fitness in a sustainable way that you can kind of manage and that lasts over time. So just as a summary, in terms of thinking about ourselves in our individual context, we've got what, where, when and why. So once we have a bit of an understanding of that and know what kind of our situation is, making a plan and trying to get exercise into our routine can really be helped by trying to use the power of habits. And essentially, we kind of use the power of cues in the environment to reduce the decision making that we have to do on a daily basis to kind of get exercise in our routines. So for example, we can use reminders, for example, alarms on our phones, or maybe sticky notes kind of stuck around to remind us of the exercises that we want to do that day. It can also be really helpful to create a bit of an exercise space, kind of using objects to kind of cue the idea of exercise. So for example, maybe putting a yoga mat out or putting your trainers out ready to remind you to go for a walk or a run. Similarly, preparation. So things like putting sports kit out the night before so it's ready for the day, or maybe even making a bit of a kind of a plan of the workout that you'd like to do so that it's ready and waiting for you to get started. Similarly with planning, As I said before, research has shown that kind of planning and scheduling activity in advance can really help us get started. So it can help to kind of maybe block out some time in the diary and make it clear so that you can't miss it. But I think also importantly in terms of planning is thinking about what happens if things maybe don't go quite to plan. So for example, if the weather's really bad outside, or if you've got family commitments, for example, or the family schedule kind of changes, what could you do in those situations? So it might be that actually you can do an exercise video indoors if it's not very nice outside, or actually do an exercise video as a family, and get everyone involved if plans change slightly. And then finally, thinking about rewards. And especially at this kind of time where there are a lot of different things going on, things are changing, things are uncertain, and it can be really challenging to kind of work through these different things. Getting an exercise routine and sticking to it isn't necessarily always going to be easy. So I think it's really important that we kind of take a step back and also pat ourselves on the back for when we kind of achieve what we want to. So scheduling some rewards during the week, maybe after the exercise, is also a really good way of kind of, one, thinking about your longer term aims and getting started, and then two, feeling good after you've finished. So just to kind of summarise, I think at the moment, any movement is good movement, and thank you for listening.